was actually proposed by the father of strength-based psychology, Donald O. Clifton. Maybe you know him. So the Clifton Strength Assessment or Gallup, so that's the company he founded. So they offer strength assessments. And they're pretty accurate. So a lot of companies in the world are using them. And he proposed that a strength is only the last part of the equation, right? So we all have talents, and we all have this uncovered talents. So, and the talent is a natural way of thinking, feeling, or behaving. And only with the investment of time spent practicing, developing your skills and building your knowledge base, you come to strengths, which is the ability to consistently provide near perfect performance. So what we actually have to look at is what are the talents of our kids. Then we provide the space and the time and the resources so that they can invest into those talents. And in the end, we create those strengths we can play out in school, later in our professional life, in family, in private life. So this is just like the model for me to understand where strengths really are and what I have to do to improve the strength I have. So it's actually more like looking at our talents and discovering our talents so that we can create and improve those strengths. So, and the question I want to discuss with you now is, what can we actually do to support kids finding and living their strength or their talents and develop their strength? So what can we do? And I'd like to have this discussion here in the room. So what can we actually do, Stephen?
So there are, what I wanted to mention is we went a little bit over as far as time, but you started late. So I just wanted to bring up the time to you so that we could kind of manage that a little bit. So if you would, if it's okay with Gabby, we'll kind of split that difference, if maybe 5 minutes more. Is that okay? Is that okay, Gabby? Yeah, like 5 minutes. 5 minutes more would be perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so any ideas what we can do to support kids? And so if you have something, so I've prepared something too, but I want to hear you first. So for me, the first step is like to recognize that everyone is different. That's for me the first step, right? Because when we go to school, they think we are all the same. We learn the same way, we act the same way, we behave the same way, but we are all individuals. So recognizing that everyone is different is for me the first step. And that is not only in a school system, that also is like at home, in families, for parenting. Parents have to acknowledge that their kids are unique, special, and individual. The second part where we can support our kids is stepping back as parents with our own agenda. Because often, and in many cases, so parents have their agenda for their kids. They want that their kids, I was a failure in football, so I want that my kid is perfect in football, for example. Or I couldn't play the piano when I was a kid, so I want my kid to play the piano, right? Stepping back as a parent with our own agenda. And finally, and that's the most important part, giving the freedom to explore. Right? No restrictions, so giving the freedom to explore. So maybe on that foundation, you can come up with your own ideas what we can do.
Thank you, Matt. That was a wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed that idea and loved the story. That was an amazing story. So thank you for sharing that. And anyone that would like to get in contact with Matt, could you share your contact details? If you would, just put them in the chat. There are 3 dots in the chat. If anybody would like to save the chat, I think everyone here is familiar with the Zoom. But just if you go to the 3 dots, you can actually click save chat and it'll save to your computer. So thank you so much for that. And do you have a, in the future, there'll be a group that you'll be able to go to for Educology and a couple other areas that you'll be able to, follow Matt and some of these different ideas. So thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
Now,
just the final note. So the idea is to not Educology be like this little tiny thing with 5 or 6 people. So the idea is to go out there, and the idea came up just now. To create like a Facebook group where we can interact with each other and can share knowledge. So with a larger audience, not only we, like the core team, and we can go beyond ecology, right? So we can go out there and discuss the topics with people outside ecology. That was just the idea that came up, and maybe I can set up that. That's not a problem, and yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. And now the time is Gabby Cheslock. She's also a member of Educology, but in addition, she's talking about the youth of today. And she has Gabby has a wonderful background. And one of the things that I love about her is the fact that she did stand-up comedy in times past. And that helps to not only make her presentations engaging and fun, but she's just a wonderful person. So Gabby, it's your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for the introduction. Actually, can you make me a co-host so I can share my screen? That would be brilliant. I'm aware we started late today. Well, we were chatting at the start because we had a good time chatting. It's always nice. So I try and keep it short, right? And I think what I do, I had planned a little bit of a discussion. If we don't have much time, I just want to explain what angle I'm coming from and maybe just give you the questions even to think about, and we can have another event, another time to go deeper into it, right? So subject I am passionate about. Hold on. Can you see the share? Yeah. Perfect. And why is this not working? It is. The youth of today. We all have heard it, the youth of today. We heard it from our grandparents, from the parents, and we're probably saying it ourselves every so often. The youth of today, this and the other. And it is a conversation about adults' preconceptions, because that's what we do. We always point on the other side, but we never think about what is our role in the whole thing. And just to kick it off, here's a little quote. We live in a decaying age. Young people no longer respect their parents. They are rude and impatient. They frequently inhabit taverns and have no self-control. Now, have you heard adults saying that about kids? No longer respect their parents, they're impolite, they have no self-control, all these things. So I'm sure you have heard those things said about kids. Now, interestingly, that's an inscription from a 6,000-year-old Egyptian tomb. Right? That is actually 6,000 years old. It's another one. Is it just me or students? Hold on, I can't really have to move this. Is it just me or student competencies, like basic writing skills, in serious peril today? Teachers have been reporting anecdotally that even compared to 5 years ago, many are seeing declines in vocabulary, grammar, writing, and analysis, right? And this one, the chairman alluding to the problem of young people and their English said his experience was that many did not seem able to express or convey to other people what they meant. They could not put their meaning into words and found the same difficulty when it came to writing. And of course, we all have identified the problem. Social media, they're on the phones. They don't know how to talk to each other anymore. They're only texting each other, right? We all know it's the technology's fault. Now, interestingly enough, the first quote is from 2014. The second one from 1936, pre mobile phones and all that, right? When I was trying to buy my first home, I wasn't buying smashed avocados for $19 and 4 coffees at $4 each. We are at a point now where the expectations of younger people are very, very high. They want to eat out every day. They want to travel to Europe every year, sorry. The beardless youth does not foresee what is useful squandering his money. First one is from 2017. Second one from a Roman poet from the 1st century BC. The prevailing narrative about members of Generation Y, that's the millennials, is that they are a fleet of job hoppers who think they're above the grunt work of entry-level position. In other words, not the most desirable employees. Now, that was said by the X generation, that would be me, about millennials. Interestingly enough, what was said about my generation was this: the traditional yearning for a benevolent employer who can provide a job for life also seems to be on the wane. In particular, they want to avoid low-level jobs that aren't keeping them intellectually challenged. And I actually don't know what's really wrong with that. Why would you stay in a job which is not intellectually challenged? So yeah, but that was said about my generation. So similar theme. And there's the question. The tragic truth is that Americans, or in this case, actually all over the world, it's the same. A bunch of phone addicted, selfie-obsessed, hashtagging, Snapchatting, kale munching, twerking, lazy, whining, ill-informed, political correct, closeted narcissists who find absolutely everything mortally offensive and believe there are 160 ways to sexually identify. And here comes the question. This is us adults saying about our younger generations. And now I think the question really is, how often do you use our phones? How often do I look at my screen? How often do I go on Facebook and hashtag, or I whine and complain and spend too much money? And who invented 160 ways to sexually identify and bring that into schools? The teenagers? Or the psychologists who want something to write about because they have to make money? Who actually puts all these ideas into their heads? And I think it is time, after 6,000 years, to actually look at us and have a good hard look what we are doing and actually as adults. And is it a wonder that the kids don't even listen to us anymore, or never did? Because I was fed up listening to adults here with the finger up telling me what I had to do, you know, and should do. They think they know everything and are always quite sure about it. And that's actually from Aristotle, who is supposed to be a philosopher and very wise. And even he couldn't see the difference. So if we are complaining about our youngsters being little princesses and princes, spoiled, who actually give out about us and don't listen anymore, is there a different approach? And the question I really want to put out there, are we actually role models to them? How do we act? How do we behave? And the first question I really had to everybody open to the floor, because I don't want to be this a moaning session about what went wrong in our lives and how the adults didn't serve us, because then we do exactly what we blame kids to do. We moan, we moan, we moan. We have exactly the same behaviors. And that's where they're learning it from. They hear us moan at home. right? So the question is, did you have a role model in your life? And who was it and why? What did you learn from them? Let's look at the positives. What was the positives you took away from your youth and your childhood, if you look back? Will, yeah.
Mine would be my dad, and that would be work ethic. To always don't shy away from work. If it looks like it's going to be too much, step back, have another look at it and reapproach it. And also his belief in trying to be as calm and positive as you possibly can be, whatever is being thrown at you.
Nice, wonderful. Usha.
Yeah, in my early childhood, my mother was my role model. And her positives were she used to do a lot of things. She never used to waste her time. She used to learn a lot of things, and she learned swimming at the age of 35. She learned everything, everything. She started her own career like after 35, 40. Now she is into yoga. So I just love the way she wants to learn things, explore the world, go beyond your limits. That's what I've learned from her. And probably the reason I'm into coaching, because seeing her. So yeah, she was my role model and these were her positives. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. So what I hear both of you say, they had a real growth mindset. Instead of having a fixed mindset, they actually were working on them, that they always were working on something new, and they always showed you there's possibilities out there.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, so role model wise as a kid, that's interesting because some of you know, so I was born in the communist part of Germany, right? And we were completely isolated for 40 years as a country. So, and I spent the first 13 years in this country, and having role models was like looking at the Communist Party, and that was not my thing. So I found my role models in books. Actually, I read all the explorers, all the books about the Wild West and Canada and Americas. So, and I found the basic things today, like independence, freedom, exploration. I found them in those books as a boy, right? Reading them all the time. Whenever I had time, I read those books, right? And these were my role models.
Yeah, that's interesting. Not an adult at all. Books and the stories. Interesting. Stacy.
Hi, yeah, I had very two caring parents who wanted to see me succeed, but at what they wanted me to do. But they taught me to work hard and things like that. But when it came to something that was in line with my values, that I could really feel like it's what I wanted to be like. And it's like Matt with his books. Mine's is a fictional character. And it was Xena Warrior Princess. It was just the loyalty, the strength, the fierceness. She's my alter ego. So that's who I kind of idolized after. I was just passionate, driven, and that's what I like to model myself after. Yeah.
Very interesting. So it was actually a fictional character who because she was fictional written, she was authentic to herself, and she turned up as what was important for you, your own values. Very interesting. Anyone else? Takiti, yeah. You're mute, love. You're mute. We can hear you.
My role model was my mom and my aunt. Because I wanted to be more like my aunt, because I seen her do certain things and live a certain life that I wanted. My mom was because of her strength and her resilience. So what I seen in my aunt, I admire the house that she had. She was a stable person. And I always admired that. So it was really not, and as a superhero, I always loved Wonder Woman because I thought Wonder Woman was more like my mom and my auntie and all the women that I knew all mixed up in one. So those was my heroes or my sheroes.
Lovely. That's lovely, strong women. Stephen,
So, I realized that my role model was my older brother, Brian, and it's the reason I became an electrical engineer. And, I still have role models today, like with hypnotherapy, I look at Milton Erickson, and it's funny because it's like not everything that he did, I would actually do, because he's done some things that were kind of rude. But the thing is he cared deeply, and he had this belief in people. So you can still have role models today, and that's what I wanted to share.
anybody had a teacher as a role model? Oh, Karen, sorry, yeah.
Well, not teacher. Well, yeah, I had a teacher that she was really nice, but my role model was my mom. This is still my mom. She showed me through her actions how work is important, but also to enjoy. So even though she had 5 kids, she had time to work, and after work pursued her passions to play sports that she loved, and then to take care of the kids and be really generous with everybody. And it's funny because we sometimes say, "Oh, mom, but why you give this away?" And she says, "It's my money. I work for it, so you don't have to worry about it." So that is like a okay. Then when you grow as an adult and you realize that you work and you get the money for, yes, it's right. You have the right to do whatever you want with your money. And my dad, he taught us the importance of being honest. And something that I carry with me all the time is that if you're going to do something, you do it right. I mean, you do your best to do it right. So they are my role model.
Thank you. And Stacey?
Yeah, when you mentioned teachers there, my role model teacher was my craft and design teacher. He really saw the strength in me. I didn't have the best time at school. I didn't go to school for 2 years, and when I did go, it was only to my craft and design class. And he kind of took me under his wing. He gave me the extra time to work on the projects I was working on. We were into the same things. We loved Pink Floyd. We used to play Pink Floyd during the classes, and we were working together on like the production of Little Shop of Horrors and things like that. He really got me involved in working with my strength, which was working with my hands. And it was such a good experience, and that was the only happy experience that I take away from school. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that there's a common theme of people we perceive as role models? They all seem to have taught us some values which are important to us today. They all seem to have been authentic and congruent in what they're doing within these values. And they had time for us. And what I picked up from a few, especially Stacey there with the one teacher, understanding. They understood us. We felt understood at least. And we had a feeling they were here for us. So if we want to really change the relationship we have between us and the other generations and really connect, is this really what we need to do? Be a role model, show them values and live by them, and seek to understand the kids? Is it as simple as that? Rather than moan and give out about them and tell them what to do all day long and rules and you shoulds. And I'm not talking about yeah, we need certain boundaries. We had one teacher who came in that was in the 70s, they think teaching with no boundaries didn't work. He didn't last long because we were kids, right? I mean, class was pandemonium. I mean, it just went out of control, right? But boundaries is one thing, yeah, and you want to keep them safe and all, but I'm really talking about this unconditional acceptance. Do we actually give it to the younger generations? How do we turn up for them as teachers, parents, aunties, grandparents? Or are we just repeating what the previous generation did beforehand because we just, without even thinking about it, we have just taken on the same behaviors patterns. I mean, sometimes I when my friends had girls, I sometimes came out with sentences my mom said. I was like, where is this coming from? I hated when my mom said that to me when I was a teenager. And it just popped out without even thinking. So, you know, that's why I showed the slides in the third. Do we need a total new approach to change the status quo? Because it seems to be a status quo. And can it be as simple as that? And that's just, I know we're finished with time. So I just want to give you these questions to go home with and maybe think about it. And just to maybe sit back and really reflect. When we do things and say things away from our role models, and we give them on to the next generation, who really is the thinker in our head? Who are, you know, when we give out to them and we said you have to clean your room and we go mad with them, who is talking? Or even in school, you have to, you're not good at this, because a kid can be good at 70% in a subject. The only thing we focus on is the 30% that didn't get. And it's natural, we all do it. Why? Because we're used to it. It's almost like we're all institutionalized for the last 6,000 years since the Egyptians, right? So that's the question I just want to give you to go home with. And that was me. Thank you very much. And I give it to Stephen.
Mike, if I can get my mic to unmute. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. It's nice to have that thought-provoking. I love the way that you started off this presentation sharing quotes from each age, right? It's like we tend to have the same beliefs, but yet society continues on and we continue to make amazing improvements. So thank you for that perception expansion for us. We've got a few minutes, so this is just casual. This is an opportunity to share our experiences, to simply be here. So if you need to get up and get a drink of water or do anything, feel free. You know, this is just like being in, think of it like sitting across the table, having a coffee. So any questions that come up, share them in the chat. Anything that you would like to discuss or anything else. We will be having a panel discussion in which Gabby, Matt, excuse me, and Stacy will be available for just fielding your questions. So if you have anything specifically related to this, hold those questions and come to the panel discussions. You'll have a chance to possibly throw those in and have those discussed. And we're trying a little bit shorter formats this go around. So we're trying to bring these in at a little half-hour segments. It's not about trying to download a lot of information. It's about trying to help give you some different ideas, a lot of different ideas, and then finding out what works best for you. So it's all about making the best of what we have. And if we look at the next section that we're going to be talking about, it's going to be the 5 things that school doesn't teach us. And this is going to be hosted by Stacy Anderson. I love what Stacy does. She's part of Educology. She's focused really on helping kids with learning, with education, especially special needs kids. She got some personal experience with that. And she realizes that the uniqueness of kids is not defined by maybe a label or a limitation that's been placed on them, and they all have unique abilities. And so it's about getting the most out of the kids. It's finding out what works for them and not putting people in boxes. So Stacy, the time is yours, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just share my screen to this. Right. Yeah, thank you for that introduction, Stephen. I am Stacey Anderson. I have had some experience working with special needs children, and they can have such a great insight to life in the way they see things. So when it comes to children being diagnosed with autism, Asperger's, ADHD, they tend to be treated in a totally different way from kids who are supposedly normal children. So the education system can be quite guilty of biases when it comes to working with these special needs. I've had teachers tell me that my autistic son can't do a certain thing when they've not even gave him a try to be able to do these things. So it's helping. I want to help the children believe in themselves, because if they are already put in this box and then all these biases are thrown at them saying that they can't do certain things, by whose standards? That's what I want to ask. By whose standards can these children not do this? So life skills. Right, children must be taught how to think, not what to think. So when it comes to problem solving, maths springs to mind, but there are more areas to use problem solving. Problem solving is a life skill. It's something most children don't know how to use. When kids hit an obstacle, they get taught to look on the outside for solutions. When it's inside, they will find the answers. This comes to mental health. They are taught to look for outside help when it could be more beneficial for them to be given the time to see what is really the underlying problem is. Asking them good questions for them to find the answers themselves and give them a sense of empowerment and build in self-esteem and confidence. In school, children are given a lesson and then a test, but in life, children are given a test to find out what the lesson is. So whenever children are going through an obstacle in life, because there is nobody there to save them, this is like the drama triangle coming into play here. That's where the mental health kicks in, going, nobody's here to help me, life's horrible, and then that's the way they perceive their life. They go to teachers who tell them that they can't do these things. They try and figure things out for themselves, and they look on outside influences to help them with those solutions. But if you teach a child to look within and find the strengths within themselves, that's where the magic lies. So, question open to the floor, and it's, do you think it's okay for a child to figure things out for themselves? So, who's got an idea on that? Do you think that every time a child falls down, you need to rush to them, pick them up, dust them off, make sure everything's okay? Or, Matt, sorry, Will.
No, not at all. I think it's important to let them stumble, have those tumbles. If it's a monumental tumble, of course, as parents, we should all try to help them navigate it better. But for me, it's probably the best way to them to learn is to learn from the mistake that they may have made. Like I said, if it's going to be a monumental mistake, of course, as parents, we do need to step in, but we can't be helicoptering every five seconds of their lives.
Brilliant, yeah. Because some children are wrapped up in cotton wool. They're not allowed to do anything that can put them in danger or stress them out. God forbid that happens nowadays. So thank you for that. Thank you. Taquiti.
I believe in when dealing with children, you let them learn the way that they should go. So I believe you should help them, but not handicap them. In other words, let them, sometimes you can sit there, it hurts. It really hurts. And sometimes you have to just be quiet and let them figure it out. Even if you see they're struggling to figure it out, let them figure it out. That way you teach them how to think and not what to think. And if they, you know, you be like, now, if you try like this, you ever thought about trying it like that? And I just had experience with my grandson, who I found out didn't know how to tie his shoes. So I let him, I didn't know. So I told him, you got, now sometimes you got to put your foot down. I set him there and I had him, he started crying. And I said, why are you crying? Because I don't know how to tie my shoes. I said, well, then the best way to do it is keep doing it until you get it. Don't stop. I'm here to be your coach. Don't stop until you get it. And he, now every day, he know how to tie his shoes, and he ties shoes. So that was just an experience I had over the week, this past week. So yeah, I just let them go. I think that's my way. Just, yeah, that's it.
Beautiful, Taquiti. I love it when you encourage children to have a new experience and to learn it on their own, because I find that can really give the child a sense of empowerment. Yes, I did it myself. But with some kids now, the slightest little thing that goes wrong, it's like that is just the makeup for their life, and that's where the mental health kicks in. So yeah, encourage them to figure things out actually helps them cognitively. Sarah.
I think for me, to say it very simply, instead of walking in front of your child and trying to clean everything up so they won't fall, stand behind them, support them from behind. So when anything happens, they can come to you, you're there for them. I think that's the simplest way to explain it.
You never cease to amaze me, girl. Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it, is be there, but don't constantly pick up after them. Let them know that there's a safety net there. I'm there if you need me, but let's see if you can do this yourself. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Gabby.
Yeah, I find that the question you asked really interesting, because if you think about it, when we grow up and we're little children, we naturally want to learn ourselves and experience it. And we have naturally a growth mindset. Otherwise, we wouldn't learn to walk. We get up, we fall down, we get up, we fall down. So we have the growth mindset. If I do it long enough, I will learn to do it. And we want to experience it ourselves. And the question really is, when and where do we suddenly get into this different mindset? When do we learn a different way? It's a really interesting question, and I wouldn't have an answer to that now, but it really makes me think right now. Thank you, Stacey, for the question.
Thanks, Gabby. See, it's like what you said in your presentation. It's what part do we play on it? The parents. So parents don't like to see the child struggle, so parents will jump in and rescue them. So that's when the child becomes a fixed mindset, because they know if anything goes wrong, somebody else is there to fix it. So they don't bother. But if a parent stands back and uses that as a life lesson, then the child will constantly come up with solutions to the problems or the obstacles that they're facing. So yeah, thank you very much. That was a great insight. So the next one.
One thing came up that I wanted to share, Stacey, is just simply that in the current society, with everything being recorded, and there used to be that people would do what was right. You know, you could try to catch your kids doing what was right. There's kind of been a little bit of a shift in catching them doing wrong. you know, with the cameras and the social media and everything else. And what I'm seeing is that that's causing a lot of the distress. So if we could kind of shift back towards that idea of, you know, let's do everything possible, try to catch the kids doing right. I think that that's really, really positive.
Yeah, and that's one of the lessons that's here. It's to work on the strengths rather than the weaknesses. So this one is educate the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So you can throw as much education at a child as you want. Or you can keep going, and if the child's heart is not in it, you've got less chance of the child picking up that particular subject. So reflection. So what good is education when a child's heart isn't in it? When the child is given time to reflect on what they're passionate about, they can really turn their education in a new direction. When they're told what to do, they can kill their joy in wanting to learn. So it takes, think of the worst job that you have ever had, that you had to wake up in the morning knowing that you had to get out of bed, you had to get ready, you had to go. You had all these annoying people that were just constantly telling you to do this, do that, do the other, and you just could not wait to leave to get home. That's what it's like with children at school, but they're legally obliged to be at school if they are registered with a school, so they have got no choice but to be there. So when was the last time? So think of any child that you've worked with or any child you've came across. When was the last time you asked a child what they really wanted to learn? That was in line with them, with their values, their passions, their goals, not what they were told to do. When was the last time you asked a child what they really wanted to learn? Thrown out to the room. Matt.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because when your kids are in public school and school, you don't really have a choice when it comes to education, right? Because they have their subjects and they have their homework, and they have to do this stuff because and you as a parent, you have no choice. But going a different way 5 years ago with my older daughters, so going in the direction, so they choose what they want to work on. So they choose their subjects, they choose their projects. So, and it's not up to me anymore to decide what they have to learn, because there is no restriction anymore. So they can all learn what they want. So, but being in this rigid system, you don't have a choice, right? So the first step is, as a parent, you have to create this room so that the kids can actually work on their own stuff. Yeah, I mean, you can do that in the afternoon on weekends, but they are so drained and so done from school, they don't have the energy anymore, right? So so Sarah, for example, I know she loves working in the morning. So coming from school at 5:30 in the afternoon, so there's nothing left to really work on passion or on something she really wants. That's my experience.
Yeah. Again, even my experience with my three is they've all went to school, and they've struggled with the structure of school and the subjects that they're just not interested in, and the teacher are badgering them to make sure it's done. They come home, they're drained, they're exhausted. As soon as we give them the space, we step back as parents and go, right, the rest of the night's yours, do what you want. That's when the passions come out. That's when they start recording. That's when Brandon starts writing his songs. That's when my sons are doing the YouTube videos, and you can really see the passion coming out just by giving them that time to get in contact with themselves again and have that reflection time. Can really bring out the extracurricular activities that they want to do, not what's chosen for them. So there is some countries that haven't got the luxury of homeschooling, but that doesn't mean that they cannot excel at what they're passionate about. So, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, to add on that question, I think when someone asks that questions to a student, would they even know what they want to learn? Because I know that I asked this question when I was in school, and most of them couldn't answer because their day is full of studies and things they have to do. They have no time to think about what do I actually want. And that is something that even I needed time to figure out. And yeah, I think there's also the part where the parents need to support that eagerness to find what they want. What is it they actually want? I mean, you can't just ask the question and then, yeah, okay, find it out on your own.
See, schools could ask that question, but it didn't matter what the child said. The schools have got a curriculum to stick by, and
Yes.
if their passion is not in with the curriculum, then you have to do subjects you don't like. I'm sorry, but when the school's over, leave it at school, and then I encourage my boys to do their homework at school. So when they're at home, it's home, and it's I try and get them to completely get the two of them apart from each other. So when they're at home, they're working on themselves, not what the school wants them to work on while they're at home. So yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Sarah. Gabby.
Yeah, it's what Sarah said I thought was very interesting because it comes back of role modeling. Because as adults, we all fall also into the trap of having our diaries full with to-do lists, what we have to do, where we have to run. We never have enough time, and the adults have exactly the same problem. If you say to most adults, who are you, without your roles and labels, they can't answer either. And you need to find out what to find your passions, you need to know what's important to you. So we actually fall into the exactly same trap. We stay in jobs for 40 years we actually hate because we're so busy running around doing things. And I love that analysis from Kane. We are actually human beings, not human doings, but we actually have become human doings. And that transfers to the kids because it's the same. They go to school and then the parents send them to after school curriculum classes. So, because they have no time either. So they're driven from school to dance class, to piano, whatever is going on. And they never have, same as the adults, no time to sit down and actually ask, what am I actually passionate about and what's important to me? And we adults do this as well. Exactly the same pattern.
Yeah. Again, we're all conditioned to do what we're told to do. Even as adults, when we were at school, we were told to follow rules. We were told to do things a certain way, and we've brought that into our adult world, and we have unconsciously taught our children the very same. But it's with reflection. It's like before I joined ecology, I was sitting thinking, I hate my life. And I just thought, I don't want my children to have the same sort of feeling that I've got right now. So I'm trying to teach my children to be better than me. And the only way I can do that is by breaking the system and going against what I was taught. So that's the only way I could teach them to be better than us. I mean, my sons always say to me that they want to be like me and their dad, hardworking and ambitious. And I've always said to them, good God, don't be like us, be better than us. Go for what you want to go for. The only person that will hold you back is you. And thankfully they've took that on board and they are going for what they want to go for. So last image is strengths, right? If something goes wrong in education, everyone will focus on the weakness and scrutinise them. The child could have the limiting belief they're not good enough and stop trying. They're going to have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. Every child has weaknesses. So let them work on the strengths. What is going to get them further in life and bring them more fulfillment? So if you constantly focus on a child's weaknesses, and again, this happened to me when I was at school, and I came through my adulthood thinking I was completely stupid and I couldn't achieve what I wanted to achieve because I wasn't as good as anybody else in the classroom. And I've also noticed that they're doing this with my autistic son and my son who deals with anxiety, as they are constantly focusing on the things that they're doing. They're not doing right, not wrong, but they're not doing as well as other students. So when they come home, they can be quite stressed out about the stuff that they've been going through. And I'll talk them through and say, right, what is it that you want to work on? School's finished, you're home. You've told me about your day. Now what do you want to work on? Do you want to take those weaknesses with you and sit upstairs and wallow in those weaknesses? Or do you want to take your strengths upstairs and start working on your strengths? It's up to you. So how can you tell what a child is naturally good at? When you see a child working away at something, how can you tell they're naturally good at it? Gabby.
It's what they're passionate about, and what they're passionate about, they're motivated to do. If a child goes into the room and says, I want to do this, and then they say it and they love it, and they come out and ask questions, and and they show you what they have done, that's what they love to do, and they really get excellent at it because they have the motivation to learn the skills and do it.
Thank you. Matt, did you have your, not Matt, sorry, I keep calling you Matt. Well, did you have your...
Yeah, that's okay. Well, it goes along with what Gabby was saying. It's the level of engagement that they show when they've picked up something that they enjoy. It's the level of engagement that they create for themselves, whether it be creative writing or even creative storytelling. It's how immersed that they become in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because when my sons are doing what they love to do, they come downstairs with a sense of fulfillment, knowing that they've done something worthwhile. And you can tell that it's just in complete line with their values, their core values, and who they are as people. And it's like chalk and cheese from when they come home from school to when they've done that. They're miserable when they come home from school. Once they've done what they want to do, it's like, fulfillment, I'm content, life's good. Hey. But Matt?
I think like skills and strengths, where kids are really good at is what you as parents maybe not even notice, right? So what they are doing when you are not watching, because they're doing it without having someone who judges them or try to improve something. And so, for example, with my oldest daughter, it took us a while to figure out that she's amazing in drawing on the iPad, because she never said that, she never showed that. And one day she came up with like a collection of very beautiful drawings, and we didn't even know that. And with Sarah, for example, like after 4 months or something, we figured out that she's learning the Korean alphabet and like started learning Korean. We didn't even notice, right? So these are the things kids are naturally good at because they do it without when nobody's watching.
Yeah, that's true, because it's as if they don't have to ask for help. They just know what they want to do and they just get a crack on and do it and get it done. There's no obstacle in front of them whatsoever. So yeah. Stephen.
To go with that, sometimes the kids don't share because they might get in trouble for something. It's like I've noticed that one of the kids that I know quite well was up playing on his computer, but he was actually programming maps within Roblox, and it's that's one of the online games. But he's highly gifted at it. So he, not only is he good at with the storyline, but the graphics. And his mother would discourage him from being on the computer, too much screen time, which is a good thing to have, but he's highly gifted in that area. And so it was transforming a little bit of understanding what he's actually doing, because there's a difference between programming and being creative versus just pouring your time and your effort into, the repetitive dopamine hits of playing the games. So I think the biggest thing is just noticing what it is that they're doing, but then also removing any biases that you might have that says this is right or wrong. And to see, how can this be helpful? What is it that is being, what is the child actually getting? What are they doing? What are they learning? Is it their social connection, all of that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, again, it goes back to what Gabby says about what part do we play on it. Parenting evolves through all the decades, but also when the child is growing up, the parenting evolves each year that the child is getting older and older. So not only does the child have to be flexible with the growing up, the parents have to be flexible with the parenting. But there is some parents that are just so rigid in the way they parent that it doesn't matter how old the child is, that's the way they parent. And that's where the conflict can come in. So again, it's coming back on us. So I could easily say to my boys that they're on the computers and everything too much, but what they do on the computers is so good that I have to take a step back and go, right, this is what you are good at. So just because I didn't do it when I was your age doesn't mean that you can't do it in this day and age, at your age, which is fine. So, yeah. Matt?
And sometimes we have just to acknowledge that it is none of our business what they are doing, right? So it's not, they're doing it and not telling it because it's none of our business. And we have to accept that because we are also doing things we don't tell our kids about because it's none of their business. We are individuals and we don't have to share everything just because we are the kid or we are the parent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of independence we have to keep for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean it's like when you find your kid is really, really good at doing something. And it's like, Stephen, when you say that when they feel like they're doing something wrong, right? So if we find that they're doing something wrong, and that's all we focus on, again, that's us focusing on the weaknesses, that's us labeling what they've done and saying that that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. My middle son did a TikTok video, and I thought he was too young to do a TikTok video. So I get quite annoyed that he had done that. But I also looked at it and I went, that was bloody brilliant. So after that, I knew he was capable. I knew he kept himself safe. So I just let him carry on doing it because my parent had to evolve at that moment in time. Yeah. Gab?
Yeah, it was something Matt said because we all learn as children, don't lie. And definitely don't lie to your parents, but we all do it. And I think the reason for it was because we had grown and the parents didn't understand we had grown. And there was just simply things as a teenager you didn't want to discuss with your parents. Simple as that, right? So it wasn't lying for the lying's sake. It was almost more like they won't understand. So instead of having a big fight and a conflict, I just won't tell them about it, right? And having the freedom to become your own person. I mean, the parents don't tell us everything they're up to, right? But there's the expectations that they need to know at all times what the teenagers are up to. I know it comes from a place of protection. You want to protect them, but I think it's to become aware of it and be able to step back and say, okay, let's trust. It's okay. And as Sarah said, be there in the back. If something goes wrong, you can catch them.
Yeah, yeah. So for my last parting, it's like what Gabby says, that you don't want to tell your parents anything. And I can remember somebody saying to me, it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I used to wait till I get caught. So yeah, and I just get very, very good at not being caught. I don't know if that's a mature way of thinking, but that's the way I thought when I was a kid. So yeah, that's me. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks for participating. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stacy. That was wonderful. And I love the discussion. I love that the presentation and the expansion of what we're talking about. So we're moving on into the panel discussion time now. So it's an open floor. There's a few questions. This panel discussion is being led by Will, and he will kind of lead us in a new look at education. And Will joins us from the life coaching aspect. He helps people make the transition in life, going from a place where they're really growing and developing beyond some of the life difficulties, maybe even traumas that hold us back, and just tapping into what it is that's who they are at the core. So thank you, Will, for leading this section. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Stephen. So to the panel, my first question to you is the title. What is the foundation of educology?
I might just answer.
Thanks, Gabby.
The idea of educology really